I'm here with Associate Dean Dr. Branz of Undergraduate Studies, and we're here to ask him some questions about the new policy changes. Dr. Branz, first question. Are there restrictions on repeating courses?
Certainly, Perla. Right now, you may not repeat a course in which you've had a C or better. A C is considered to be a passing grade in any course leading to a degree at San Jose State. And you also are not allowed to repeat if you had an incomplete, an I for a particular course. The expectation is that you complete the work for that course within the year after the grade is assigned. So you should not sign up for the course again. Some students do that accidentally. If you get a C minus or lower, you are eligible to repeat the course. In a credit, no credit course, you can repeat it if you have a no credit, but not if you have a credit. So again, a C or better or a credit or better, it's your last try at the course. This has always been the situation at San Jose State for many, many years, but we now have MySJSU enforcing this so that students are blocked from their registration if they're trying to enroll in a course that, for instance, they got a C or C plus in. In the past, they would enroll in it, and then when it came time for graduation, the graduation evaluators would knock it off your transcript, effectively discounting that course, even if you had a higher grade. There's one exception to this rule, and that's courses that are in the catalog descriptions. You'll see them. They're designated repeatable for credit. That means those courses are intended to be taken more than one time. These include internships, research, sometimes seminar courses in which you're intended to go semester after semester to those courses.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Second question, are there limits to repeating courses while at SJSU?
Yes, there are limits on the number of repeats, and this is new, and based on some CSU policy from last year that we reproduced in San Jose State policy. Previously, there were no limits on the number of courses that you repeated. Now the limit for undergraduates is 28 units. It's not on number of courses, it's number of units, and it's 28. And it gets rather complex within that. Of that 28 units, 16 are what are known as grade forgiveness. That's a maximum number. This used to be known as academic renewal, but it's now going by the CSU name of grade forgiveness. So if you exceed that 16 units, the remaining units up to 28 go into what is called grade averaging. And that simply means it goes on the transcript, the repeat goes on, it figures into the GPA as if it were a completely new course. Prior to that, those first 16 units, you're allowed grade forgiveness. The second try completely replaces the first try. It isn't that you get the better grade, the second one replaces the first. So if you do worse the second time, it removes the better grade on the first try. Within the 16 units, there's an even more complicated arrangement. You have a maximum of 9 units of lower division coursework and a maximum of 9 units of upper division, and you'll note that that adds to 18. So it's whichever limit is hit first. So if you use up your 9 units of lower division when you start here as a freshman and sophomore, you're limited to 7 units at the upper division. Although if you don't use all of your lower division, or if you come in as a transfer, you could have the full 9 as upper division. So as I said, it gets rather complicated, but the most important thing is to do well so you don't need to repeat courses. That's the best strategy of all. As I stated, anything that exceeds those unit limits puts you into from grade forgiveness into grade averaging.
All right, thank you so much. Are there limits on dropping courses or withdrawal from all courses in a semester?
You probably know, Perla, that prior to the drop deadline for the semester, you can drop as freely as you want with no mark on the transcript whatsoever. But once you hit the drop deadline, anything after that requires an extenuating circumstance in order to be approved. It shows up as a W on both the unofficial transcript and the official transcript, meaning it's an approved withdrawal from the course. These have to have documentation. Generally, it's on letterhead, so you cannot drop an individual course, which is what it's called if it's one at a time, or withdraw from the semester if it's all your courses at once, unless you have good documentation for it. That happens for the first 80% of the semester. It can't be just for academic reasons that I'm doing poorly in my classes, so I want to drop them. There has to be some extenuation. And generally, you should show that your grades are atypical of what you were doing either before that semester or if you apply afterwards, after the semester. In the last 20% of the semester, the standard gets a little bit tougher, and it's already tough in the first 80%. And that is if you have something that's clearly beyond your control. If you're hit by the bus crossing the street, if you have an appendectomy, I mean, if something really serious happens that you had no control over whatsoever, then you'll be granted a withdrawal of a different sort. And in fact, this can happen early in the semester. It's not restricted to the last 20%. Anytime, either during the semester or after the semester, you can get what's called a WB, which you can think of as being beyond your control. A withdrawal that's beyond your control. On the official transcript, there's no distinction. They both appear as W's on the official transcript. The unofficial transcript will distinguish these that are limited to the first 80% and those that are beyond the student's control, which can be given anytime, even after the semester, which is known as retroactive drops and withdrawals. Now, there's a limit on them. You hadn't asked me that, but there's a limit on ordinary W's of 18 units in your entire career at San Jose State. There is no limit on the number of WB's in your career. If you really have these disastrous things in your life, we're not going to restrict the number of times that you withdraw from courses. But if there are things that are on the margin, my employer assigned me new hours, well, if you knew that you were taking a new job or you knew that something like that, that might be a W as opposed to being hit by the bus situation, right? And I don't know, did that answer all of your questions about that? Because the situations for withdrawals are rather complicated, and the best thing to do is to look at the petition form, which is found on at AARS, which stands for Academic Advising and Retention Services. If you go to their website, they have the form for drops and withdrawals.
Okay, I think that fully answered my question. Thank you.